You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
and Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
All right, everybody, we're back with some more murders.
It's spooky season, so she's getting in character.
I really am, though, and I have a ghost story tonight.
You do?
Oh, shit. I just ran. Got so excited. I ran right into my printer. I do have a ghost story, and I'm excited for this one.
I'm excited for that, too. I love ghost stories.
It's kind of a famous one in Washington, and I stuck to old time, so deal with it.
Did you hear from my grandma?
True facts. When I went to Autumn's grandma's house to do a sleepover, she straight up told us the most horrific ghost stories and that the ghosts followed her.
Yes, that's important. The ghosts follow her from home
and
to
then
home.
She was like, okay, good night.
And then she left us in the living room where we were sleeping on the floor with all of the, what are those, cuckoo clocks or whatever?
That's right. And also remind you, we were
I know
in our teens and we were drinking copious amounts of root beer and candy and all of that stuff. So we were super hopped up and wide awake too.
This was back before I became an old lady and go to bed before 9.
Yeah, I am not ever going to be that lady.
No, but you have like insomnia.
But I'll also be 80 years old and out at 1 a.m, probably.
This is true. Granny Erin will be in the club.
I am a late night person. I'm a night owl person.
This is true. If you ever need someone to talk to in the middle of the night, chances are
almost always find
she's
me.
awake. Sometimes I will be waking up because Dustin wakes up quite early. I wake up sometimes at 4 or 5 a.m. and I'll text her and she's like, "What are you doing up?" I'm like, "I woke up. What are you still doing up?"
Yeah, I do have insomnia, but I also work a night job. So it's finding an interesting balance for me because I have a child and I get up at 7:30 in the morning with her and get her off to school. But I work often until, close to midnight. And then I usually have a drink to decompress or sit and chat with friends. And then by the time I get home, it's about 2. And so to be able to stay up late enough to go to work and subsequently have a little bit of me time, I can't be getting up at 7:30 in the morning. It's just not enough sleep by the time I actually fall asleep and everything. So I usually come back, take a little nap, and then I get on with my day, usually about an hour, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, she's like that, not me. I'm in bed by 9. I start work at 7 a.m. So I'm a tired girly at night.
I like the nightlife though.
You always have. That's always been your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a morning person. So it's so funny that we are such good friends because we are total opposite.
Well, I did used to drag you out to the clubs.
This is true. She did.
And granted, I am not a 40-year-old woman going clubbing. I don't go to clubs. I just go to my local bars.
When I said she'd be a granny in the club, I didn't really mean an actual club.
Yeah, I'm not into club.
No.
Okay. Well, moving on, we're going to get to our cases this week. I think both of us have shorter stories, so that's what you have to look forward to.
You get buckled in, drink some tea.
I'm drinking tea.
This is true. And let us help you through spooky season.
Do you drink tea, Autumn?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love tea.
I'm having a little throat coat tea because I had a little cold I'm recovering from, thanks to my small human petri dish.
I love that girl. She brings you so many sicknesses.
Yeah, it's great. I love being ill. Okay, so I'm drinking my tea. Grab your tea or your coffee or your cocktail or whatever time of the day it is.
Or your hard alcohol, just whatever suits you best.
Yeah.
And listen.
And
we're going to
listen in.
Yes, we're going to take you on a ride.
Mm-hmm. Autumn goes first this week.
I do. There's no pressure at all.
No. It's just me judging you from the other side of the computer.
She is a judger.
Facts. That's real facts.
Okay. This is a very important case. I think about this case all the time, if I'm not lying. And of course, I saw it on Unsolved Mysteries.
Of course.
I just, shout out to Robert Stack.
Yeah, Autumn's number one crush.
Yes, if there's ever a ghost sighting of Robert Stack, someone's got to call me. I got to go. I got to go.
That's it.
It'll be my only chance to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to get right into this one. Today, I'm going to be discussing the tragic case of Molly Ann Bish, a 16-year-old lifeguard from a small town in Massachusetts whose disappearance and murder has haunted her family, friends, and the local community for over 2 decades. Despite years of investigation, tips, and leads, the case remains unsolved, leaving lingering questions and a demand for justice. Warren, Massachusetts is a small, quiet town nestled in Worcester County, a place where everyone knew each other and life moved at a slower pace. It was here that Molly Bish, a vibrant and well-loved teenager, grew up. Described by her family as compassionate, bubbly, and full of life, Molly was involved in her community and had close-knit groups of friends and was excited for the summer of 2000. Like many teenagers, Molly had a summer job. She had recently been hired as a lifeguard at Commons Pond, a small swimming area popular with locals. It was a dream job for Molly, who was a strong swimmer and had undergone training for the position. However, little did she or her family know that this job would set the stage for a tragedy no one could have predicted. June 27th, 2000, began like any other day. It was a beautiful summer morning, and Molly was preparing for her 3rd day on the job. Her mother, Maggie Bish, drove her to Commons Pond that morning, as she had the previous 2 days. But that morning, something was different. As Maggie recalls, the scene felt off. The day before, she had noticed a strange man in a white car parked near the lifeguard station as she dropped Molly off. He was sitting in his vehicle, just watching. Though Maggie had felt uneasy, she didn't think too much of it at the time, as nothing unusual had happened. But that morning, June 27th, the man and his car were nowhere to be seen. At around 10 a.m., Maggie said goodbye to Molly, who walked toward the pond with her lifeguard gear. This would be the last time she saw her daughter. Not long after Molly's arrival at Commons Pond, swimmers began to show up for a relaxing day at the water. But something wasn't right. Molly wasn't at her post. Her chair was empty, her first aid kit was open, and her sandals were left behind on the beach. The lifeguard whistle and towel she had brought with her were also found near her post. Panic set in. A 16-year-old girl had vanished from a quiet, well-frequented pond in broad daylight.
Well, and she wouldn't have left all those things.
No, and this was her 3rd day on the job. It's not like she was testing the waters to go meet up with some friends for a few hours.
Yeah.
Molly's disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, and soon a massive search was launched. Police search and rescue teams, volunteers, and even the FBI became involved. For days, they scoured the surrounding woods, ponds, and fields. Helicopters circled above, search dogs were brought in, and divers combed the water at Commons Pond. But despite the extensive efforts, there was no sign of Molly. As days turned into weeks, investigators began to follow up on leads. One of the first major pieces of evidence was Maggie Bish's sighting of the man in the white car. Could this person have been involved in Molly's disappearance? Who was he? And why had he been there the day before? Investigators released a composite sketch of the man based on Maggie's collection. He was described as being in his 50s, with salt and pepper hair, a mustache, and a stocky build. The sketch was circulated widely, and tips began to come in, but none of the leads led to any substantial breakthrough. For 3 long years, the Bish family lived with the unbearable uncertainty of not knowing what had happened to Molly. Was she alive somewhere? Had she been abducted? Or had something far worse occurred? I mean, I can't even imagine.
No, not at
3
all.
years not knowing where your daughter is. Then, in June 2003, a grim discovery was made. A man walking through the woods in nearby Palmer, Massachusetts, stumbled upon human remains. The location just 5 miles from where Molly had disappeared. It didn't take long for the investigators to confirm that the remains were those of Molly Bish.
Oh, no.
The family's worst fears had been realized. Molly had been murdered, and her body left in the woods to decompose for 3 long years.
That's a lot of evidence to be lost.
A lot of evidence. And honestly, who knows? I'm glad she was found at all, because that could have gone
really
a different way with animals taking the bones.
Sure. And then also trying to get a positive ID.
Mm-hmm. The discovery of Molly's remains provided some answers, but left many more questions in its wake. How had she ended up in that remote location? Who had taken her, and why? Despite extensive searches of the area, authorities have never been able to determine exactly how Molly died or what transpired in her final moments. No evidence at the crime scene pointed directly to a suspect. Over the years, several persons of interest have emerged. None have been definitively linked to the case. One such person of interest is Rodney Stagner, a convicted murderer who lived in the area at the time of Molly's disappearance. Stanger was later convicted of killing his girlfriend in Florida and had a history of violent behavior. He also bore a resemblance to the composite sketch of the man in the white car. However, no direct evidence has ever tied him to Molly's abduction or murder. Despite the tireless efforts of law enforcement and Molly's family, the case remains unsolved to this day.
No, I was waiting for you to tell me. I'm just sitting on the edge of my chair like,
I know.
But who is it then?
I know.
Oh,
I know.
Leave me with an unsolved mystery, Autumn.
I told you I got it from Unsolved Mysteries.
Damn it.
In the years since Molly's death, her mother, Maggie Bish, has become a powerful advocate for missing children and has worked with law enforcement to improve protocols for searches and investigations. The Bish family's dedication to keeping Molly's memory alive and seeking justice has inspired many. The Molly Bish Foundation was created to support families of missing persons and to help raise awareness about child safety, and they continue to work closely with law enforcement in hopes that one day they will find the person responsible for Molly's death. There are still so many questions that remain unanswered.
Mostly all of them.
Yes. Who abducted Molly Bish? Why was she targeted on that summer morning? And what happened to her in those moments before her arrival at Cummins Pond and her disappearance? As many unsolved cases, the hope remains that one day a new piece of evidence, a new lead, or even someone's conscience will provide the breakthrough needed to finally close this chapter and bring closure to Molly's family and the community. Joseph Early, Worcester County District Attorney, announced a new person of interest on June 3, 2021. Francis P. Sumner Sr., a registered sex offender and a man with a more than 20-page criminal record, who was found dead inside his home in Spencer, Massachusetts on May 4, 2016. Early did not say exactly how Sumner was connected to the case, but that investigators recently received new information that had led them to investigate him. On July 9, 1982, Sumner was convicted of aggravated rape and kidnapping from an attack prior to October inside an apartment that Sumner was trying to let. He was sentenced to concurrent sentences of 15 to 18 years on the rape charge and 9 to 10 years on the kidnapping charges. The earliest Sumner could have been released from Walpole State Prison was in 1997. It was not immediately clear how long Sumner was incarcerated for that case. Early said that Sumner was incarcerated several times during his life. To date, there has never been an arrest made in the case. But in 2023, the 23rd anniversary of Molly Bish's disappearance, Early made an announcement that despite no arrests being made, Sumner, who passed away in 2016, does remain a person of interest. Early expressed confidence in the ongoing efforts by state police detectives and mentioned the continued testing of evidence with advancements in forensic science. He also emphasized the importance of familial DNA in aiding the investigation and noted his support for legislative changes to facilitate its use.
Well, good news that they have DNA.
Yes.
With her body being there for so long.
And we've had cases we've talked about with the GED match and stuff.
So many.
That familiar DNA, and obviously the Golden State Killer was caught with familiar DNA. So that is extremely important in these old cases.
100%.
The Bish family continues to advocate for child abduction awareness and the resolution of Molly's case, with the Worcester County DA's office remaining committed to solving the case. An anonymous tip line remains open for any information regarding Molly Bish's death. I want to keep Molly's memory alive and continue to push for answers in her case. And to those who are listening, remember, you could be the key to solving a mystery.
Have you been dying to say that?
Yes, and I knew that was going to be so cheesy, but I had to say it because, hello.
Oh, I've got a cheesy ending. We good on that.
And so I also just wanted to say my sources. Obviously, Unsolved Mysteries, Wikipedia, and the New York Post.
That was Autumn. Living your dream.
It was my dream.
You're going to totally freak out about how similar our cases are.
I didn't even, and this time we haven't said anything. We usually don't tell each other.
Yeah, we usually don't. The only thing that ever Autumn will tell me a disclaimer if there's something regarding children or rape or both, just because they're triggers for me. So she lets me know ahead of time, but that's the only thing that we know.
Yes,
is if there's anything
names
like that
or anything, just that's going to be there.
And I don't have to give her any sort of disclaimers.
No, I'm ready for it all.
Yeah.
That makes me sound so
if there
heartless.
was a cat, maybe if there was a cat involved,
yes, honestly,
then I'd have to say something.
I think you would. I think that's the line we found.
Yeah. So we're going to just take a quick break and then we'll be back with my case. And we are back. So that was a great case by Autumn, and we will be putting up more information about it on our Instagram page at Murder Not Murdering. So check that out, because also we will have that crime hotline listed on there. So make sure to take a look at that. And also, it's just nice to know more about who these people were, and we'll post pictures of them.
Yes, put a face to a name.
Exactly, more information. So, Autumn, I am so freaking excited now to read my case, because we have a lot of very similar situations. So
tell me, lay it on me.
More like timeline situations and locations, but it's wow. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is the Lady of the Lake.
Ooh.
At over 600 feet deep and 12 miles wide, Lake Crescent sits as one of the most gorgeous, expansive lakes in Washington state. What you don't see is that Lake Crescent has a dark past and a ghost who reportedly still haunts the eerie waters today.
All I can say is girls trip.
Yeah, no, good wine drinking around there. At Crescent Lodge, formerly called the Crescent Tavern, which is still standing, staff and lodgers say that they have heard clattering up and down the stairs in the wee hours of the morning. Other staff have reported seeing lights flickering, doors banging shut, and music suddenly getting louder in the lounge. Some have even said that they've seen a pale woman wandering around the shores or even in the lake. While I cannot comment on the paranormal activity, what I can do is tell you the true story of the woman who was found floating in Lake Crescent in 1940. Hallie Latham Illingworth was born January 8th, 1901, to a farm couple in Greenville, Kentucky. As a young adult, Hallie repeatedly moved west searching for a better life. She made her way to the Olympic Peninsula after 2 failed marriages. Now, at the age of 35, Hallie was working a job as a waitress at the Crescent Tavern. That's when the unlucky in love Hallie met a beer truck delivery driver named Montgomery J. Illingworth. Monty is how I will refer to him for the rest of this story. They married June 16th, 1936, soon after they met. Unfortunately, it was a very volatile relationship. 5 months into their marriage, the couple got into a pre-dawn fight that was so ferocious that the police were called to break it up. Hallie would also regularly show up to work with bruises and black eyes, and she confided with a coworker that Monty had choked her and broken one of her teeth. The couple were known to be heavy drinkers and very jealous. Now,
not a good combo.
Not a good combo. Now, in December 1937, nearing the holidays, Hallie disappeared. After the night and morning of December 21st to the 22nd, no one had seen Hallie alive again. Monty told his friends that his wife had run off with another man, perhaps a sailor, and that she had gone with him to Alaska. As the months went by, Hallie's close-knit family and friends had no word from her. Monty moved to California with a woman he had met in Port Angeles, a woman whom, reportedly, he was seeing romantically before Hallie's disappearance. Her name was Eleanor Pearson. Despite suspicion of foul play and reported domestic abuse, Monty was granted a divorce in 1938. Then it all went cold. 3 years after Hallie's disappearance in 1940, a body surfaced in Lake Crescent. It was wrapped in blankets and tied with a rope. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the process of saponification, but it's when a body has a soap-like condition resulting from the minerals in the lake interacting with the fats in the body. Combined with the lake's near-freezing temperatures, it had virtually refrigerated the corpse for years. Sadly, a pair of fishermen found out about the process when they found the body of a female wearing outdated clothing bobbing on the surface of Lake Crescent.
Oh my gosh.
The body's skin had turned into a rubbery substance, and it was not bloated like most bodies held in water. There was no decay. She was perfectly preserved. The body did not smell, and it was white as marble. The body had been taken to Port Angeles, where a young medical student, Harlan McNutt, examined it. He noted that the upper part of her face, her upper lip, and her nose were gone. Because her hands had been exposed, the tips of the fingers were also gone. That means there was no way to get fingerprints and no way to tell what the woman looked like. And then there was the unusual state of the corpse. The dead woman's flesh had turned into something that was described by McNutt as ivory soap. And just like soap, the body had converted in this manner and floated. Although it had been apparently weighted down, the ropes connecting to the weights eventually had decayed, allowing the body to float up to the surface.
Oh my gosh.
A visual inspection, by the way, I'll never use ivory soap ever again. Not that I did, but
I don't blame you. It sounds like awful.
It's a new trigger.
Mm-hmm.
A visual inspection of the body and subsequent autopsy showed that the woman in the lake had met a violent death. She was described as being 5 foot 6 inches tall, weighing around 135 to 150 pounds, with dark brown hair that may have been dyed. She was between the ages of 35 and 45 years old. She had a prominent bust. I'm not sure why that is important.
I know. I was about to say, okay.
But it was listed in a newspaper ad asking about information. She wore silk stockings and a green wool dress decorated with a white petticoated braid. Her neck was bruised and discolored, and her chest showed evidence of extensive hemorrhage. She had been beaten and strangled. Almost immediately, It was thought to be the body of Marion Frances Steffens of Chicago. Steffens had disappeared in the Olympics in September 1939. Based upon the body's description and the clothes, Steffens' own mother thought it could be her daughter. Some details made her hesitate a bit. Prosecutor Ralph Smythe was not convinced that the details were conclusive enough to identify the body as Steffens. The county doctor, Dr. Cavaney, agreed. It was known that Steffens had suffered a fractured neck vertebrae, and this victim had not. Though there was little to identify her with, the investigators tried to focus on the small details. It seemed that her hair had been styled prior to death. This led to the possibility that she was working at the time of her death. On one of her feet, they found a bunion that also indicated that whatever job she had kept her on her feet. They concluded she may have worked in laundry or as a waitress. But what stood out the most was that the body had a distinctive upper dental plate. Using a photograph of the dental plate, Sheriff Kemp and Prosecutor Smythe had 15,000 circulars printed, and they mailed them to dentists around the country with a $100 reward. Authorities were able to identify the woman as Hallie Illingworth, thanks to Dr. A.J. McDowell of Fulton, South Dakota, the dentist who identified the dental plate as one he had made for her years before.
Oh, wow.
Edgar Thompson, secretary and treasurer of the Culinary Alliance, compiled a list of several names of people who had dropped out of their organization during the time frame of the murder. One name that stood out was Hallie Illingworth, who was no longer on the organization's list, and she apparently left without a union transfer or withdrawal card. Investigators located Hallie's sister, Lois, in Walla Walla, Washington. Lois confirmed that her sister had been missing since a few days before Christmas in 1937, and she told them that her sister had an upper partial denture and a bunion on her right foot, leading more to knowing.
But I don't know enough about my brother that if he had a bunion, I would know about it.
Well, apparently it was very painful, and so she complained about it, and that's how she knew.
That makes sense.
But all of this is leading to making sure they had a positive identity of the body. Knowing her marital history, the police were now on the hunt to find Monty Illingworth. Investigators found him living in Long Beach, California, remarried to Eleanor Pearson, the woman he was thought to be cheating on Hallie with.
No.
Yes. On October 26, 1941, he was arrested and taken into custody by the Los Angeles Sheriff's deputies. Not long after, he was charged with murder. He was brought back to Port Angeles and put on trial for Hallie's murder in the Clallam County Superior Court. The trial began on February 24, 1942, and it was so sensational. It was competing with the news from the front lines of World War II. But people were focused on this case. Trial developments were splashed across front pages of all the local newspapers. Spectators arrived early at the courtroom for the 9-day trial. Monty pled not guilty.
Of course he did.
His defense was that the dead woman simply wasn't Hallie, and he swore she was alive when he last saw her. But we have a positive ID from the dental records. In addition, Hallie's friends identified the clothes being worn by the dead woman as belonging to Hallie. The topic of abuse came up often in the trial, and Monty confessed it was normal for the couple to get into physical altercations. I struck Hallie. She also struck me. I never beat her up. I did not kill Hallie, he said. Again, we know from eyewitnesses that Hallie was seen in the past with multiple bruises and black eyes. Then, the key evidence was admitted. It was the rope used to tie her up before she was dropped into Lake Crescent. Here's the thing. Monty had borrowed 50 feet of rope from Earl F. Enos, the manager at the Port Angeles Distributing Company, which had employed Monty. And he still had remnants from the rope. The fibers matched. The rope was first purchased at Sears, Roebuck and Company. Enos testified that Monty had borrowed the rope to pull his truck out of the mud, and he had never returned it. It was thought that the murder was most likely not premeditated, and that Hallie and Monty had probably had a fight in their apartment that December night in 1937. The fight took a violent turn, and Monty brutally beat and strangled Hallie to death. Hollis Foltz, a criminologist with the Washington State Attorney General's office, who helped investigate the murder, maintained that Monty tried to conceal the crime by placing his wife's lifeless body into the trunk of a car and driving to Lake Crescent. Monty then stopped in the vicinity of the present-day log cabin resort, where he wrapped his wife in blankets and tied the bundle with a rope. Monty put Hallie's body in a rowboat, attached weights to the bundle, and rowed into deep water.
Oh my.
Then he dropped the bundle into dark water. Rumors circulated that during the murder investigation, Monty didn't act alone, but no one other than Monty was charged with the crime. It took jurors 4 hours to reach a verdict. On March 5th, 1942, the jury found Monty Illingworth guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla.
Good.
He served 9 years in prison and was paroled in 1951.
No.
Yeah.
Why is this a thing?
I don't know. He died on November 5th, 1974 in Los Alamitos, California, 37 years after the murder of Hallie Illingworth. Her story lives on today with ghost sightings and other paranormal activities surrounding Lake Crescent. Visit, and you may see the lady in the lake drifting along the shore and over the water, glowing in the darkness, pale, translucent, and a little sudsy.
Erin?
My sources were... I know I was going to get you on that one. My sources were History Link, MyOlympicPark.com, the Peninsula Daily News, the Seattle Daily News, and Morbidology.
Oh my goodness. I love that. In fact, I've heard of
the
that.
Soap.
Like, but that
sudsy. I'm so
that's
dumb.
so funny that we both ended on super cheesy notes too.
Well, and also yours was at a pond, mine was in a lake.
Mm-hmm.
It was a woman disappearance, and then both of them were 3 years before the bodies were found.
We're just
that is wild.
On the same wavelength, no matter how hard we try not to be.
Well, I was trying to think, now that it is October, I wanted to do something kind of spooky. I wanted it to be something here in Washington and old timey. So I felt like this ticked all the boxes. I know it's been done by a lot of people, but hopefully you found out some new information maybe. And it's just a great story to hear.
Honestly, I don't care how many times stories are done. I feel like victims' names can be heard, and we are just made aware and learn lessons.
I just think that, you know, it's a message about domestic abuse. You don't have to stay in that. I know that there's a lot more options for women now, especially than there was in, you know, the 1930s and 1940s. But it's just interesting that we both had similar stories again. If you do want to know more information about both of these cases, we will put up pictures and more information about the victims and the murderers.
And honestly, if someone from our podcast that was listening solved the Molly Bish case, are you kidding me? Dream come true, people. Get on it.
Right. And on that note, if you do have any information or you have ideas for the podcast or maybe a personal connection to a crime that you did not do, unless you're calling from prison and we're getting an exclusive, please feel free to DM us on Instagram, and we would be happy to check stuff out and learn more, especially local. We love sticking to our local places.
Pacific Northwest has our hearts forever.
Forever. It's the best coast.
The best coast.
West is best.
Anyway. That's not up for debate, so.
All right. We love our East Coast listeners.
Yes, we do. We love people. I mean, Erin, you married one.
I did. He married an East Coaster. All right, folks. Well, we will be back next week with some new stories and new crimes. Thank you for listening to us, review our podcast, and we will see you real soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.